Hey look kids, it's Mega Man 11 on Nintendo Switch. Why yes, we did indeed look at this game 3 years ago on PC, but now we're doing the Switch version because, sure, why not? Hey, any excuse that I could come up with to revisit Mega Man 11 and put out a video that doesn't have a janky frame rate due to differing recording methods is one that I'll gladly take. So yeah. Anyway, 8 years after the release of Mega Man 10, during which time nothing of note happened, Mega Man 11 returned to the tried-and-true formula of its predecessors, giving you 8 stages to choose from, classic straightforward platforming action, fierce boss battles, and eventually new weapons to acquire from their burning husks, before tackling the final stretch of levels to take down the nefarious Dr. Wily for good, or at least until the next chapter comes along, I suppose. As per usual, you control Mega Man, who has his full moveset from games past: running, jumping, shooting, sliding, charging your buster shots, and shots that pass through solid objects. Good stuff that. Your only other accessory at your disposal at start is Rush Coil, an easily accessible spring feature that is even more accessible compared to before with the touch of a button. Halfway through the game, you also get Rush Jet, a forward-moving jet thing that is also accessed the same way. Both features can be summoned with their own respective button, thus making it easier to summon them quickly when needed, but as a caveat, both use the same energy meter, giving Rush his very own dedicated ammo meter, for lack of a better term. So use these wisely, especially Rush Jet, which is slightly harder to control and uses up more fuel compared to previous games. New to Mega Man 11, and the central gimmick as it were, is the newly implemented double gear system, represented by these gears on the bottom of your meters. By pressing the left or right shoulder buttons, you can either enable the speed gear, which slows down time, allowing for more precise movement, or you can enable the power gear, which doubles the shots of your standard buster, as well as power up your master weapons, a sort of precursor to the Mega Man X ARM upgrades. Both these gears can be used at any time, and as many times as desired, though only for a short time, as the mechanic is prone to short-circuiting, disabling the feature if this meter gets too full. Additionally, when Mega Man is low on health, he can enable a double gear maneuver which activates both gears at once, but cannot be turned off on a whim and leaves Mega Man severely vulnerable for a short period of time, so suffice it to say, use this as a last resort, or just don't use it at all. It's entirely up to you. The double gear system is a crutch to assist in those tricky parts if needed and if used wisely, but that's all it really is. One could play through the entirety of Mega Man 11 without ever using the system, if desired, and without much issue. Still, for those who need a little help with certain parts of the game and could use a bit of a slowdown, or just want a boost of firepower, especially once you get the master weapons, double gear is a useful tool when used wisely. In addition to that, you also have other tools via the shop to aid you: energy tanks, weapon tanks, mystery tanks, energy balancers, and other bits and bobs. Even enhancement parts like auto chargers, wider shots, and boots allowing for better traction are available for purchase with the bolts you collect on your journey. Some items are hidden at first and require certain conditions be met before you are able to buy them in the shop. Mega Man 11 sports 4 levels of difficulty: Newcomer, Casual, Normal, and Superhero. Casual and Superhero are your designated easy and hard modes, with the Superhero mode basically removing all power-ups from the game. While Newcomer makes things even easier by giving you an infinite number of lives, twice as much health, buster shots with double the attack power, and less powerful spikes scattered throughout the levels. And if you opt for something different, there's a number of additional challenge rounds you could tackle with different objectives and conditions to overcome. Mega Man 11 keeps it traditional and sticks to the tried-and-true formula established by its multiple predecessors in the classic line. There's no grading system, no scoring system, no gimmicky gimmicks, no annoying mid-level cutscenes, or unwelcomed vocal performances to detract from the experience. It's Mega Man in its purest form, and it is wonderful, even in this high-definition format where you'd figure there'd be some slight deviation in terms of feel, because every time they move from 8-bit to more bits, there's usually some difference in the way it controls and stuff. But no, it's solid. Especially in regards to control, which is top-notch, tight, responsive, very intuitive, even with all the buttons and functions being used. You know, the right stick gives you shortcuts to the weapons, and 2 buttons to quick summon Rush in either Coil or Jet forms. Just in terms of the way it feels, it comes close to matching the feel of the NES games in this new look. And that's a good thing, because there's some tricky shit to overcome in what may very well be some of the more straightforward levels in latter-day Mega Man. Each level has some theme and gimmick for you to overcome, usually. Bounce balls, dynamite crates, and such, but they're more basic in terms of conception. None of this variety crap. No ride chaser this, no puzzle room that, no 3D bullshit, jump, slide, fuck all that noise. Nice and simple, side-scrolling, blast everything, jump a few things, learn some patterns, that's all it is. Levels are notably longer than usual, and the mid-boss battles only emphasizes how much more you have left to go, but once you get the hang of things, it's not so bad. Well, okay, the boss battles might give you a bit of a hard time at first, and superhero mode might have you feeling it since everything hits harder and power-ups are at a premium, but other than that, yeah, it's okay. And if things get a little rough, that's why there's a shop function where you purchase items using the screws you've collected, whether it be replenishable items such as E-tanks and beat calls, or equipable stuff such as energy converters and stuff to help you with the gears things and stuff. And the equipable items can be used all at once instead of one at a time, so up yours, Mega Man and Bass. And the weapon set you eventually acquire has some practical applications, whether it be brick drops from above, large radius chain blasts, or throw a little power gear to charge your Tundra Storm thing into a screen-nuking terror. I forgot what it was called, but that's okay, I think. That's what it is, right? Okay. And if the main game isn't enough, there's a number of challenge modes you could try out. Time attacks, the square attacks, and other variants like balloon popping. Beating the game unlocks the Dr. Light Trials, a series of 30 rooms that takes inspiration of the challenge modes of the various Mega Man Legacy collections, so the game gives you plenty to do once the main course is completed. Once that's done, well, that's entirely up to you, I suppose. Mega Man 11 abandons the pixel-based art style of its 8, 16, 32-bit predecessors and adopts a clean-looking 3D visuals 2D gameplay format. Looks alright for the most part. Game keeps things rather small instead of inflating everything to giant size, which means more real estate for you to play around with as far as the level design is concerned. Even so, everything looks fairly polished and the art style has a nice clean look to it. The animation's pretty solid, performance is smooth as butter, regardless of whether it's in docked mode or handheld mode, so there's no compromise to the Switch port, which also has amiibo support that gives you an E-tank a day whenever you use it, so that's something, I guess. And the cutscenes are fairly basic bits where characters have moving mouths when they talk, because of course they do. Makes sense. What dumbass would make a game with talking characters and not have their mouths move? Oh shit, I still have to play that game that I bought 4.5 years ago and completely forgot about. It's turning 5 soon.
Proceed, Beck. With all due caution.
Who cares? We'll save it for later. Sound-wise, okay, I called this a mixed bag back in the day, but honestly, 11's soundtrack really grew on me over the years. It's probably one of my favorite soundtracks in the series. Every theme fits the stage they're in, every one of them is nice and catchy. They're really good tunes, whether it's the true highlights like Fuse Man, Block Man, or the theme that plays during the Dr. Light trial runs, or some of the even some of the more atmospheric tunes like Acid Man or Torch Man. Great soundtrack, probably one of the better soundtracks in the franchise in my book. That's not quite reaching that upper echelon of great list, but pretty close. The instrumental remixes offered as DLC, on the other hand, is a bit of a mixed bag. They aim for a different tone, but of those, only Blockman really stands out. The rest, well, your mileage may vary. Sound effects are what they are, serviceable, functional, no hiccups as far as I could tell. The voice acting's pretty solid, with the characters having some personality, and actually pleasant to the ears. There's even an option for the Japanese vocals if you prefer, which sound, well, quite frankly, like any Japanese voiceover to anyone who doesn't know any better. Not much to add there. Overall, Mega Man 11 is a return to form. Wouldn't call it a glorious return to form since we haven't seen another major franchise title since then, but it set a high enough standard for any major follow-up to strive for. Mega Man 11 plays it relatively simple by sticking to the basic formula that works best while introducing a couple new bits to make a somewhat unique experience. Not to mention just a really fun, well-made little game and another top-notch Mega Man adventure to add to the pile. And the Switch version is every bit as capable as that PC version I played a couple of years ago, with the added benefit of being a sometimes portable experience. That's pretty much the only unique aspect to this Switch release, but regardless, Mega Man 11, regardless of where you play it, is a fine game indeed. A fine play indeed. Fine play. Okay, fine. We'll play the fucking game next week, for fuck's sake.